Hello, world. Welcome to the show. Today we have one of my best friends from the NFL and one of the best people I know making a really good transition into what we call the real world once in a while. My dog Peyton, what's up, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you? What you been up to? How's the Austin life? Is it how hot is it right now?
I appreciate you having me. It's hot. I'm gonna stay inside. It's one of those like you don't turn the AC off. You know what I mean? Like
That's
you
like
just keep
that's
it
like
on. You see, I got a hoodie on.
that's
I got sweatpants on under here, some long van socks. Like you wear a hoodie if you come in my house because it's 91 out there at it's noon right now. It'll probably get to like 95, 96.
Yeah.
But it's just sticky out there. After this Zoom call, I'm closing all the blinds in the house, all that, bro. Just whatever it takes.
I love it. Well, for all the listeners out there, Peyton was one of my teammates in Jacksonville and another former undrafted free agent out of San Jose State University out there in Cali. Peyton, just for me, and because obviously I love the stories of the undrafted guys, and I think sort of something that attracted us to one another when we first met out in Jacksonville. Talk to me a little bit about being a free undrafted guy and sort of like how that grind is up until finally getting a legit shot in Jacksonville.
Oh, just endless years of stress. Uh, no, man. I mean, it's as you know, it's a weird situation because you're coming out of college and there's guys who are like definitely never gonna play another play again, and there's guys who are definitely gonna continue to play, and you're kind of in the middle. You're just in that state of limbo, right? Like, do I go get a regular job? Do I go get an internship, or is this gonna work out, right? Especially in my situation, I left a couple months early, even though I was already done with school. I left a couple months early to go to like training camp and all star stuff and things like that out of college. So it's
Right.
just like a big risk of time you're taking out of life when everybody else has got agents. There's teams calling them. They're getting flown out to different teams for workouts and stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, you went where? Yeah, I'm just at San Jose State getting this workout in, man. Hoping I get a phone call, right? So it's a lot of unknown and stress. But honestly, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm not a guy who probably should have been a first round pick and getting 10 million right out of the gate. That's probably not best for me. And honestly, man, it builds a lot of character, and you know that, right? Like it creates a different beast inside of you. You're a different person because you have a different perspective, and I would much rather have that perspective, right? And if we're translating it to the real world, um, there's those people you hear about that are successful. Let's use money as the metric for success, right? There's people out there that have a lot of money, maybe our age, and somebody may say, "Oh yeah, his family's got money," right? Like, "Oh, he's from the whatever family," right? Uh,
Right.
that's just not as cool as you know what I mean. He's got money. He's
From the
he's doing
ground
his thing.
up.
He's successful, right?
he's
So
grinding.
right, he's grinding. He's a part of the grind. So it's that same thing, right? Like I being drafted and being, all that would probably have been really great and really easy, man. But the bumpy road, as you know, kind of turns you to probably the man you actually want to be, man. So it's
Love
it's it's
that.
all a blessing either way you take it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I don't talk about that much is how you are in limbo in that moment in time, and you don't know, should I be figuring out another career right now, or should I be really focusing and putting a year into this or 2 years into this, or what's too much? How far do you go? And that's absolutely true, and I haven't talked about that enough, actually. I'm glad you brought that up.
Do we,
Yeah, man, it's a huge point. Go ahead, Jordan.
do you think, because obviously me playing soccer and just that team sport, do you think that environment helps, let's call normal work the real world? Do you think that helps transition to the real world? Or do you think that you're so focused on sport, it doesn't have the same effect of when you go into the real world? Apart from like the foundation layers of like teamwork and that kind of stuff.
What do you think, Dan?
That I think being a free agent helps.
As in, like when you go to the real world, do you think being in that environment, that football or soccer or whatever team sport, do you think that translates well in the real world?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially in a football locker room, there's 100+ guys there at certain times of the year, and you have to get along with a lot of different personalities, and the coaches are all different personalities, and I think that really trained us well for being out in the real world. I mean, when you say that's helped you a lot with, you interact with people every day, Peyton, and I think you probably have a more mature and well-rounded ability to speak to all different kind of people through your football endeavors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that part is kind of like, it's like why they make you do group projects in school, like learn to work well with others, right? Like, you got in football, you got people from all different walks of life, like from the farm to the hood, right? And it's just different people, and there's people in both of those categories and in between that have money and success and those that don't. So those characters and those backgrounds even vary as well. But I think another way that it really helped is, am I allowed to cuss on here? I think another way,
say what you want.
Another way that it helped is like it really allowed you to learn to get ready for the real world by eliminating the bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a lot of people I interact with on the daily, friends, family, partners on deals, people I do business with or work with. Like, you step back and you realize, like, man, their perspective is different, or they're kind of like getting involved in the emotions or the this or that of it. And you're like, I'm just taking the 4 bullet points from it, the facts the variables that I can actually do something with, and I'm going to make a decision with this, and I'm going to control what I can control.
Yep.
Regardless of what this environment is, and I'm going to make the best of it, just progress, kind of like I'm gonna figure it out. Right. You become a figure it out guy, right? Like, doesn't matter what's put in front of you, what the obstacle is. If you're doing something new, like they could have had us showing up to do some charity thing on a Wednesday, right? Like, not like that's some big thing to accomplish, but like they put you in uncomfortable situations every day in which you just show up and you be you and you figure it out, and your character and your morals and your effort will bring you through it, right? And that's the same thing. They put you in a new position, put a new playbook in, new coaches. You're a captain and they draft a 1st-round pick in front of you and you're like on your way out. Like, there's all type of shitty situations you end up in, and you learn to just like take what little you do have to go off of. Don't be negative. Control what you can control. And I think that's honestly what surprises most people, or what people give most credit for making it to being a professional athlete. It's that untalked about, like, I figured it out when all odds were against me and I was the 1% of the 1%. I still figured it out. Right. And that's what preps you for life. That's that, oh yeah, he can do anything because he was a professional athlete at that level. It's not because you played in big games on Sundays or whenever you played. It's because behind the scenes you figured out a way to make it work regardless of what your variables were, or your tangibles or intangibles.
It's that preparation up until that point, right? Behind, like you said, behind the scenes. That's the important part of, not everyone sees. They just see you on the field on a Sunday or whatever, and it's like,
absolutely,
you either play good or you play bad.
I do think that football actually cripples you a little bit though too.
In what way?
You're just in a box. You're just in a box in life. Like, I mean, I don't know what it's like, for soccer. But I mean, how long are your off seasons? How long do you truly have time to yourself?
Off seasons are normally at best 6 weeks.
Exactly. Same for us, right? So like, you're right back in it. And even if you could take on a job or an internship or go back to school, like you would have to be in a position in which you were drafted or your position was secure in order to like mentally and physically spend that time and pay attention to that demand of something else other than like just trying to make it one more season.
You don't want it, because the way you're set up is like, you just think about soccer or football,
like,
right?
If I know that I can take what I got, and if I focus on this 100%, I got what it takes to get here. There's no time for anything else.
That's true.
So just put you in this box, and then you're not having insightful conversations about, the world around you, the economy, how people make money, relationships between other people. So like, then you get done playing and it's just like, I felt like a freshman in college when I was trying to figure out what my major was. I don't even know what all the majors are. Can I get a list? Do I just pick one? Like, how does it work, right?
Well, I think
And it's like, dude, I'm damn near 30. Why am I having this discussion with myself, right? It's just, it cripples you.
Try it at 35, bro. But
try it at 39.
Let's talk about that, though. I mean, you've done really well transitioning into, real estate development. And I just hanging with you, we spent a lot of time out in Texas together and stuff. I hear a lot of those football cues coming through to your life now. And, just talk about that and how what you do now and what's your grind every day now as compared to your grind for football. And how do you think that, some of your key things you did structure wise and to set up deals. And I hear you saying football, things all the time. What
football terms, huh?
Right.
I'm on all the time. I know it'll never stop. I'm sorry.
No, that's great though. And I think
20 years of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but that's why we love sports though, especially as men. A lot of that stuff applies. Exactly. A lot of it applies. A lot of it applies. They're just life tools, right? Like a lot of people, don't believe in, religion or anything like that. But a lot of that stuff is their life lessons, right? Like a lot of people may not believe in something above you, but the kind of stories that are in the book are kind of all like life lessons relating around like karma and treating people well and being a better person, right? Like it's the same thing football does. It created like a structured atmosphere that gave you tools to succeed and they apply to life. And so just getting into the real estate stuff when I came out to Austin, but I just got back to the hustle. I was just started to think about like, how did I get where I got the last time I was like starting fresh? And if you want to talk about starting fresh, that's probably like high school when you're actually able to make decisions for yourself. Mm-hmm. Starting fresh was like, hey, anytime we get a day off or any free time I had, I was just always doing that. Like we're getting a workout in, or we're just Nico and Brandon were up at the high school field throwing the ball around, and we're just going to get some footwork in. And this is at like 14 years old, right? And you're just doing it to do it. So like you just submerge yourself in it, and then at some point you find people who are where you want to be at that. So it's like some guy that's on varsity or something like that, and you're like, man, I kind of want to be like that dude. Let me go stand next to him, right? So you're doing all of that. You're submerging yourself just in it all the time, and then just having conversations with people who are already where you want to be. So I just essentially started doing the same thing. I came out here, got my license. I was in the middle of having surgeries and things like that, just from being done playing ball and still trying to meet people out here. So to kill two birds with one stone, I just hit up a bunch of people on LinkedIn and called a bunch of CEOs and random people, never met them. Just added them like, hey, listen, I'm so-and-so. I did use the NFL card, right? Like, hey, I'm so-and-so. I live out here. I retired. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing, but I think I want to do this, and I got to drive to either figure out what I want to do or figure out what I don't want to do real quick. And I plan on peeling through it. So if I can buy you coffee for 30 minutes and just kind of pick your brain about how you ended up, because most people do the same thing, right? Like they get done with college, they do one thing, then they have a couple jobs that lead to like what they've been doing for the last 20 years, right? So like, tell me what that middle gap was like and what you tripped, stumbled over and kicked on your way to getting there, like, right? Because somebody's like, hey, I may have done some franchising when I first started, then I did an internship here and did marketing, and now I do oil and gas. Okay, well, tell me why you didn't like that stuff, because through that conversation, right, I'm gonna control what I can control and take those variables. And I'm essentially going to say like, nah, I don't want to franchise a restaurant. That sounds terrible. It's not what I want to do.
From a humble place, learning from someone else it's amazing how many people want to help you when you come from a place like that, and just.
And I've said it. I don't know if you watch any of the stuff I put on social media, but I called it coffee for degrees. This process, right? So because I was trying to decide, are we going to go back to business school, or are we going to just go out here and just blaze a trail, right? Mm-hmm. And it's that trial and error to where if you really show like an interest in like that, you have a drive to other people who have already made it, right? Just like you, if some young linebacker is just like knocking on your door every day, like, hey man, teach me something. You'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna help this kid. I'll give him at least 30 minutes, right? Exactly. It's the same thing in business. Like bro, these successful people, there's no business top 10 plays of the day on Sports Center. You know what I mean? Like they may have closed a like $1 billion deal, maybe $100,000 deal, and they come home and wife's like, "Hey, pick up the kids and get the shit." Like, I didn't ask you about work. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody asked them about that shit.
Yeah, I got you.
And then, like, if you are successful, a lot of the people that work with you or that are your partners, not everybody's really as genuine as we are, right? Like, they're probably competing with you, even though they're working with you, whatnot. So, like, you don't want to share too much juice, right? But, it's a young guy or young woman come and ask you, like, "Hey, man, just tell me about what's been going on." Bro, you're going to spill the sauce.
Sure. Yep.
First time anybody's asked you about what you do or where you come from, probably 5 years. Other than some panel you were on or something you did for your alumni, right? Like nobody sat down one-on-one and was like, "Tell me how great you are and how you got there."
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
No, and so when you sit down and do that, so when you do that, these guys that are like, 40, 50 years old plus that are like on their way to retirement or have already have the success and family set up, like they're just getting ready to play golf and hit the boat every day, right? They're going to sit down and literally give you the secret sauce to whatever you ask. Yeah. All in trade for a cup of coffee, right? So like those same tools of just submerging yourself in it, being around people and just consistently being in the mix. Like we were good at football because we were always in football. Yeah. Jay, you were probably great at soccer because you were just always on the field, always had a soccer ball. You and your friends, they probably played soccer too. So like y'all were all talking about it all the time and it just like brought it to fruition. So it's kind of the same thing, man. And then just as I started to find some success in it and find some deals in it, then, you just try to be as thorough as you would with the playbook or as thorough as you would with your off-season training. Like, I'm going to just be thorough and put in systems that, like, help me be better and help me just have a good structure. And then there's no ceiling because you're not in that box anymore. So
true. With like, say, because obviously athletes, you always get all investments from tech to real estate or whatever. Why would you say like real estate is such a good investment? Because for me personally, I feel like out of all the investments I've done, real estate has been the most beneficial. Why do you think athletes, if they're looking to invest, should invest in real estate? Or what things do you think they should look for when investing in real estate?
Well,
like
why
tax
real
benefits,
estate?
etc.
Why real estate in general? Because all athletes are tired of somebody else controlling their future, right? Like there's some GM that can cut you at any point in time.
Yeah. You
put your money into the stock market, that is some other person who's controlling where that goes, making decisions about your success, and or there's just a market shift and that's some other random variable controlling your success that you can't even touch. Real estate's a cool transition because you can walk on it and touch it. And if you lose $10,000, you can literally see why, right? Like, I made a bad decision. I didn't do that. I will never do that again. And that way, when I go into my next investment, I know that won't happen again, right? Like, I'll be, instead of being 80% successful on the rest of my projects, I'll be 85% more successful on my projects because I've already stumbled through something like that and already figured it out. And I can go on there and touch it, right? Like, crypto, stock markets, if you invest in tech, like you're hoping that their company and their variable is going to bring you success. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Do you feel like real estate's more like betting on you?
It's more betting on you, but also like if something goes right or something goes wrong, you can you can drive over there and do the study and learn, right? Like you don't have to call your bank like, "Hey, what happened?" They're like, "Oh man, the supply chain for Johnson & Johnson, something happened with all the something happened with all the baby powder and diapers in the world, so you lost $10,000. Like, what the hell has that got to do with me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you think it's something that people that are athletes or whatever can get into later in life and really understand? Do you think it's easier to understand and easier to grasp, do you think?
It's easier to understand, easier to grasp, not because the concept is easier, but just because you can like literally touch it. We're all visual learners.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's the same reason I like real estate. The worst thing that happens is you sell it and maybe you lose a little bit of money, but you still have something to hang on to, right? It's not just air, like a business can be air, you know? So, All right, man. What else you got going on down there? I know you got a little thing called the Players Reach where you do some really good philanthropic stuff in the area. Can you talk about some of the things you've done there?
Yeah, that's all just related around stuff we used to do with the teams, right? So, for those who don't know, during the off seasons when we were there for camp, and then like our 1 day off during the week during the season, teams would set up like community outreach events, hospital visits, humane society visits, autograph signing sessions. They would set that stuff up for you. And that's always something that I always liked. I like going to that stuff. Now, there were times where I was for sure like, hey man, I got a game this week. I'm not doing anything on Tuesday but studying. I'm sorry, you're going to have to tell the kids, my bad. But that's something I missed when I got done playing, especially the big Christmas event where we take a bunch of kids shopping. Man,
Yeah.
it's like, I wasn't making a crazy amount of money, but I'm making I'm in the 1%, you know what I mean? Especially for the tax bracket, right?
Yep.
A lot of these kids, they've never spent or seen their parents spend $100 in one sitting at Target or at a restaurant, right? So to to kind of feel like a leader and an example to young kids has always kind of been, I would assume that's a little bit in all of us just because of where we come from, and we remember being little kids and not really having maybe the greatest role models or many role models, right? So when I got out here, I was just like, man, I missed that. And then I started to realize there's a lot of retired and current athletes that live in Austin, and not just football players or soccer players, baseball players, Olympians,
Yep.
basketball players. I mean, all type of sports. People live out here, and then UT's right there as well, University of Texas. So I essentially just created a group. Now, the one pillar to it is community outreach, but the second pillar to it is getting athletes more involved in networking, right? Even these retired guys, right? Like, my hat's off to all these retired guys who become professional dads or want to coach their kids' teams or coach the local high school or open a gym. But just like in college, there's more than 3 majors, right? There's more than 3 things that you can do. And you don't figure that out unless you do kind of something like what I did, and you go meet people and you figure that out, right? Like, you have a couple conversations, and especially if you got 8+ mil in the bank, you go have a couple of conversations with somebody. Maybe they're in oil and gas, or they do some other business. They own 8 veterinary clinics or something like that. There's people out there making money all different types of ways, and there's ways for your money to make money, but just not really networking. You're kind of you're stuck in that box. You're used to being in the locker room. You don't really trust other people, especially people doing business. You think everybody's trying to take your money. So it was important for me to like not only mix these athletes up in the community, but also pair them up and put them in situations in which my business professional network out here, as I started to grow in Austin, could combine with the athletes, and they can both help each other, right?
Exactly.
Like, if you own a business and you're hanging out with some dude that used to play ball, like, you're carrying it around like that's a title belt. Like, they're carrying that. It's something, bro. You may not be somebody, right? Like, I'm nobody, right? But like, they'll definitely say, oh yeah, this so-and-so, he used to play ball, right? Like, it counts. Well, just for as much as that counts, it counts for me to meet you to get the experience, because I'm trying to learn something and get essentially to where you are, right?
I mean, you make it in the NFL, it's no matter how long we made it, that's a huge accomplishment. I'm sure they want to learn from you and what it took to do that, right? I mean, you gotta know your worth too.
Absolutely. So helping the community is cool, but the other half of it is just making sure I blend athletes and business professionals in Austin. And like I said, I may not have all of them in this foundation, but I get people to participate, and we do big events. We're doing the Christmas thing. We essentially try to shut down Target and take a bunch of underprivileged kids shopping. We do something for Thanksgiving. We're working on getting an annual golf tournament around, and then we should have anywhere from 3 to 6 events throughout the year that are smaller. Like, maybe we go to Safe Place and do, maybe we buy them lunch, buy the school lunch, and we get their recess extended and play with them, for a couple hours, dodgeball, things like that, right? Have good conversations with kids. Maybe we're taking, a couple high school guys or junior high kids to a UT football game. And we partner with United Way or something like that on that type of thing. But we try to do 3 big events and 3 small events throughout the year, especially coming out of COVID to not only help out in the community, but man, get guys more involved and kind of get them out of the house or get them out of their comfort zone and get them more involved in the real world out here, especially in Austin. There's just too much opportunity for people to be sitting back, you know.
Yeah.
When it comes to golf, hit me up.
Hey,
Hit me up, bro. I'm ready.
Golf course right there. I'm not great, but I'm gonna go out there. You know what I mean? I'm out there.
That's what I'm at, bro. Just go out and have fun.
I'm just trying to shoot under 95, bro. That's a day for me. That's a day.
That's still top 10%, bro.
Hey man, that heat start getting to you is crazy.
That's a different deal. I have to play through that kind of heat.
So last question, final question. Which sport is harder, American football or English football?
Here's what I will say before I answer that question. Here's what I will say. Hey, y'all's version of football, soccer, I feel like y'all are essentially the best. I would say you guys hold the longest duration of athleticism throughout any game in any sport. Like y'all are literally running and doing crazy stuff just the whole game. The whole game. Like we may sprint and change direction for like 6 seconds. Maybe it's a 10-second play, but we for sure get time off or you come out for like anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. You're out of the game, right? Like y'all are always running into each other, bicycle kicks. Like, bro, I'm not pulling off no type of kick like that after I ran all the way down the field, right? That's just different. But I will say American football is harder only because the physical part. It's like really militant. It's kind of like Marines like. Yeah. It's weird. It's really weird. But hey, y'all may still whoop our ass. I'm just saying. What do you think, Jordan?
For me, I think because a lot of American football is using your hands. Obviously, the physical side, soccer players can't get to that level, right? But as a whole, you have the athleticism and you're using your feet, which most people don't. Obviously, walking, but you're using something that you're not holding all the time. So I feel like there's so many more variables in soccer than football. That's why I would say soccer. But obviously, I'm going to be biased anyway.
Yeah.
Right. That's like, I mean, playing soccer, your feet are essentially your hands, and your feet. It's not like you can use your toes like they're wrapped up in cleats. Like that's like, bro. That's like playing football with like boxing gloves on.
Yeah, it kind of is.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're just strapped in. Like you're doing what you can, hitting the ball with the gloves. Like that's a lot. That's weird. That's a lot.
Yeah, I think this question has been a little bit almost tough because every athlete we've had on, they all respect how hard each sport is. So everyone's like, well, it's like this and that, but both hard sports. I think most of them so far have said that a lot more skill involved probably with soccer, but then in football that you could get hit by a 300-pound.
Yeah, I don't think there's a definite like soccer's the best or football's the best. It's just opinions, right? Because they're both.
I do wish more of our top American athletes would play soccer, though.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different story.
Right.
Imagine if like Russell Westbrook played soccer.
That's when I look at basketball, that's the relationship. I feel like Westbrook would be like a beast, like just his energy.
Oh yeah, he'd be nasty.
Like a Odell Beckham or a Deion Sanders playing soccer would be crazy.
Yeah. It'd bring
crazy because some of those are big bodies too. If LeBron played soccer and was actually good at soccer, like he had the feet to play soccer, that would be scary.
It'd be little quick DVs and stuff, but anyway.
Put him in the box. Put him in the box. Just sub him in.
Play DN.
Just put him in the box.
LeBron's playing DN with his slow ass. But.
No, I feel you. I'm just saying, like, just
right.
What if it was like a Michael Jordan that played basketball?
Yeah,
6'6".
Yeah,
freak of nature.
Jump over everybody, every header. We got some.
It'd be crazy.
They're spread across a lot of different sports here. So,
exactly. I would like if we were just a country that was focused on like mainly one sport that represented our nation. Like,
yeah, it'd be crazy. Yeah,
Crazy.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Peyton. Thank you so much.
Thank you
No
for your
doubt.
time and your insight for sure.
Yeah, great
Yeah,
insight.
no doubt, man.
And we're so happy that you're holding it down in Austin. Hopefully I'll be joining you soon. We'll see about that.
What you mean hopefully?
That's what I'm saying.
What you mean hopefully?
We'll see about
I see a lot of stuff over there you need to get packed up, buddy.
No, this house stays here. I'm coming. My house is gonna look like Jordan's
I'm good
background.
to go, bro. I'm good to go.
Hey, Jordan, next time I hop on here, you got to have a poster up, something.
Hey, I got my jerseys on the way, bro.
Okay. Family photo. I need something, bro.
I got the family photos here, bro.
Hey, all right. That's fair.
All right, boys.
Cool.
I'll see y'all
Much
later.
appreciate it, man.
All right. Appreciate y'all having me, man. Have a good Tuesday.
Same to you, man. Much appreciated.
I know.